Hey, what is up guys, my name is Griefdrums and today we're going to be covering something that divides the community in a massive way: dropshotting. I do however want to quickly start by saying that I have a Discord server now, so if you are interested in getting involved and staying up to date with what's going on with my channel, use the link in the description below, come and get involved, as I want to sort of build a place that like-minded gamers can go and find people to squad up with. And then, you know, I've got a load of voice channels there that you can use, and every now and then I may jump into a couple of them and see if I can get into some games with people. Anyway, back to the point. A little while ago I posted a poll on my Twitter, and I've got to be honest, I didn't expect it to be anywhere near as close as it was. 54% of the people that voted believed that dropshotting was toxic as hell and had no place in a game like Rainbow Six, with the remaining 46% of people saying it is a completely viable tactic, it's in the game, and there is nothing wrong with it at all. So with that in mind, I kind of wanted to look at dropshotting, and I wanted to take a look at whether it actually does have a place in this game. Now, whether you play on console or PC, your views might be a little bit different. And the reason behind that is that on console, in order to be a proficient dropshotter, you kind of need to spend a little bit more money. That's not to say it's not doable on console without a scuff controller or, you know, without one of the elite controllers, but it's a lot harder to do. By spending more money and getting one of these controllers, it gives you that extra button on the back or the extra paddles on the back and allows you the ability to keep your thumbs on the thumbsticks while you drop and shoot. PC, however, is a slightly different beast. Everyone's got the ability to do it really easily just because of the sheer volume of keys that you've got available. With that in mind, I did see more people dropshotting on console than I do on PC. That's not to say that I don't see people doing it. You know, even I'm guilty of using it every now and then, but only in certain ways and at certain times. For the purposes of this video and to find footage and to, you know, create footage, I've been dropshotting quite a lot lately, and I've been quite toxic with it. Just to sort of get that footage. This is not the way I would normally play when it comes to dropshotting. Now, before everyone jumps on the bandwagon and shouts, you know, that I'm toxic, because technically 54% of people out there probably will, my logic behind dropshotting is that being in the military, you are taught that when you come under fire, you drop to the floor and make yourself the smallest possible target. If you're stood up, there's obviously a lot more of you to hit. If you're lying down closer to the ground, you're a lot harder to hit. Now, obviously, in a real life situation, if you are really close to someone and you are up close in a CQB situation, you're not going to be dropshotting. That is ridiculous. If you're out in an open field and you're getting incoming fire, you potentially will, so that you can return fire from a more stable position. So if you're looking at this game from a tactical realism point of view, at long range, dropshotting should be acceptable, and at close range, it shouldn't. That's not really how it works, unfortunately, because by dropshotting, you are moving your character so quickly out of people's way that you are gaining a bit of an advantage. Now, if that advantage exists, much like the peeker's advantage, surely it can be exploited, and I think that's what people do. Now, on the other side of the coin, by exploiting something because it's in the game, that doesn't make it right. Very often I will see people glitching onto windowsills or, you know, inside of staircases and stuff like that, and they say, well, hang on a minute, the devs left this in the game, it's their fault. And I don't really agree with that. That's kind of a shallow argument. It's very obvious as to whether something is intended or not. And if it's not so obvious as to whether it's intended or not, I would usually err on the side of it's probably not. Now, it can be obvious because, you know, glitching into stairs so that you can't be shot but you can shoot out, that's not an intended gameplay mechanic. Dropshotting, however, I kind of think it is. It wouldn't be too difficult for the devs to add in some sort of penalty for drop-in, some sort of accuracy penalty or, you know, a recoil penalty, so that as you're dropping, you either can't shoot until you hit the floor, or when you do shoot, the bullets spray wildly and you can't ADS. There's loads of different ways that they can play around with this. I personally wouldn't be opposed to something like this being added to the game, because at the minute there is no penalty, so as you're dropping, you can still shoot with 100% accuracy. And that's what makes players like Ash, Bandit, Jaeger so viable, because they've already got pretty small hitboxes as is, they're already fast operators, and if they start, you know, yo-yoing up and down from the floor, it makes them even harder to hit. Now, I have seen people try and drop shot with some of the slower operators like Fuse, and it's hilarious because it's just like some old man trying to crouch down and put his head into the line of sight of your bullets. But certainly with faster operators, this can be a really viable tactic to drop shot. One thing I have found in my sort of trials over the past few years with this game is that drop shotting can be really effective near staircases because you can minimize how much you are showcasing of yourself. If someone is at this window, for example, on the white stairs of cafe, by drop shotting near the top of the stairs, you minimize how much of yourself is visible, leaving only their head exposed. Now, this is a controversial topic, and I think it's always going to be. I think there's always going to be the players that advocate drop shotting should be in the game. It's been around in games like Call of Duty, Battlefield. It's utilised in a lot of first-person shooters, and I can kind of see the other side of the coin where people say it shouldn't exist, certainly not in a tactical game. But Rainbow Six isn't really tactical anymore. Yes, it's got all the breachability, and it's got some cool strats that you can implement, but the tactical realism side of it, it's slowly moved away from with the introduction of, you know, traps that become invisible. The faster and faster operators obviously change the meta in a big way. And I think we're moving more into the realms of it just being a competitive shooter as opposed to a tactical realism game. When you look at some of the other games that are coming out, like, you know, Escape from Tarkov or Ready or Not, these kind of games are leaning more towards the tactical realism where, you know, if you get hit, it really does damage you. It's not just a case of only one-shot headshots kill, but these games are going as far as to control how high you position your character by using the scroll wheel. So if instead of just having standing, crouched and prone, your crouch you can actually adjust so you can look through tiny little kill holes. And, you know, obviously this game is fairly limited as to what it can do because it is on console as well. But I just think that the game that I first purchased, this isn't it. I expected Rainbow Six to be a lot slower. I expected it to be more planning and all of that aspect of it, and it's not really at all. Now obviously I love this game, so I'm not slagging it off in the slightest. I'm just saying I think this game has moved a little bit more towards Call of Duty style gameplay while still retaining a lot of the elements that made it what it was originally. In that vein, I don't think, unless the devs do something drastic, that you are ever going to get rid of drop shotting, because it is so viable. How many times have you seen an Ash jump round a corner and then suddenly you're dead, and in the kill cam she's on the floor, you know, she's halfway down when she kills you, but in the kill cam she's already down on the floor, and you know, that latency and that discrepancy between what you're seeing and what the enemy is seeing can make for a huge advantage for whoever's peeking. Because of that, someone jumping around a corner and going prone instantly while spraying a pre-fire at you, you know, it's going to remain a viable tactic unless the devs actually do something about it. Whether that is a penalty or, you know, a limit on ADS time, a limit on being able to shoot your gun until you hit the floor, there's loads of different ways they can handle it. Instead of just dropping to the floor, if your character actually went through not necessarily an animation, but a slower going down to the floor, you know, that could potentially solve people's issue. But I do kind of think that if you can't beat them, join them. Now I know that's probably not what people want to hear, but let's face facts. Drop shotting is a big part of this game, certainly at the minute. For this very reason, I have set up the control key on my keyboard for my little finger so I can just prone. And as I'm going around a corner, I can use that, and I can prone, and I can drop shot. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it though. Is drop shotting toxic? What do you think? Do you think it should be in the game, or do you think that they should do something about it? If so, what do you think should be done? Make sure to let me know down in the comments below. As I mentioned at the beginning, I do have a Discord channel. The link is in the description below. Head on over to that and let's get involved. If you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting that thumbs up, and if you don't already, make sure to subscribe. But until next time guys, stay reckless and relentless.